Hey everybody, welcome back to NSB. Last couple episodes back we finished up the rear end where I put the leaf springs and the sliders in. So I've got the rear end pretty much done. Like the way it's going. So moving forward, I've got one more spot that I want to hit on that I need to take care of. And that's up here in the motor area. So let's kind of dive into it and let me show you what I have and what I'm going to do. So pretty much on this episode, we're going to be working on the nitrous system. Let's get this breather off here. So pretty much we got the fast fuel injection system on it. And pretty much the way it works, it's a return line system. And the way it works, the fuel comes in here, comes up, and runs into the fuel injection system, runs through it, comes back out, and runs back to the fuel regulator. Pretty much we're running 50, 60 psi on the fuel system. So pretty much on my nitrous what I did is I put a T here on it, teed off, and ran to another regulator, which goes to my nitrous solenoid. Now, on the nitrous system, if you're running, 150 to 200 shot, you're all right, about 7 pounds of pressure here. Now, when you get up into the 250 or more range, you need 10 psi. Now, this is the second regulator that I've put on here. The first one seemed to be doing okay. And then all of a sudden I was getting gas squirting out of the hole where it blew the diaphragm. So I ordered a new one. I put it on. And for some reason, when I fire the car up and it's running, I got 60 pounds or 55 pounds of pressure coming in. This gauge here is reading that same pressure. Now to me, I don't know what's going on, but I would think that if this is a regulator, this gauge should never read a high pressure. It should be read the pressure that I want on the regulator going into. Now when I trigger the button to turn the nitrous on, and this is when the motor's running, and pretty much the way this works is, here's my switch. It's right here. So when I throttle this, the bottom part of this carburetor comes up, boom, it hits the button, and now I got nitrous. So when I'm wide open, boom, nitrous comes on. The gauge does go down to a pressure that's okay, but as soon as you let off of it, then it comes back up to the high pressure, and I don't like the way that's working. Not to mention, when I do hit the button, I'm noticing my gauge fall quite a bit, so all of a sudden I'm starving the system here, which is required to have that pressure some, and it has to take up for it. Now when you're running through 1/8 a mile, and I'm doing it in like 7.5 seconds, 7 seconds, all this is having to work in that amount of time. So pretty much what I'm going to do is eliminate this T, take this back off, and I'm going to put this back on like it's supposed to be, and let this system for the fast take care of itself. It needs to be all by itself. It doesn't need to be robbing fuel from it and that dropping down. I'm going to get rid of this pressure. Pretty much I'm taking this off right here at the solenoid, and everything coming to the solenoid is going to be completely different. So let's go over what I'm going to do. So here's the plan. I went out and purchased a 1 gallon mini fuel cell. Also, got a nice fuel pump. And pretty much all the hardware, all the way down to an inline fuel filter, all the fittings. I've got a box full of fittings. So the plan's going to be that we're going to take and we're going to mount the little 1 gallon cell here in front of the car. And I'm going to run the line to the fuel pump. Fuel pump's going to go through the filter and to my solenoid. The fuel pump It's pretty much 11 to 12 pound fuel pump, so I won't even have to have a regulator because this is going to always have pretty much the right amount of pressure. I would rather have 1 or 2 pounds more. That way I know I'm getting enough gas and not taking a chance of burning something up. Not to mention, I can run around with my non-ethanol pump gas that I've put in this car and be driving around normal, not having to worry about anything. Then when I turn the nitro off, I can put my racing fuel in my little can, and it's going to be up there front. So when I arm the system, the fuel pump's going to come on and be running and ready to go. So when I launch the car and I take off and the nitrous comes on, it's going to be giving it racing fuel, which is going to give it more octane and the adequate gas with the nitrous. The fast fuel system is not going to be lowering anything. It's going to be maintaining like it's supposed to be, and I think that's going to solve a lot of my problems. So now is mounting this. I've already looked at the front of this car, and it's going to be a really hard spot to put this because I wanted to put it in with the engine bay, but there's so much stuff in here. Like, let's take a look here. My first thought would put this in this area, but man, it is really tight right here. The heat and all, it's just not going to cut it. So on the other side's the alternator. I've got my catch can, so there's no room on this side. The only spot that I thought about mounting is going to be right here in this portion. Now, for one, I can't get the tank in here, so I'm going to have to tear half the front of the damn car off to get it down in there. So I'm going to mount it into this position to where I can pop the top. I'll be able to pop this top right here, put my fuel in. I'm going to run my line across to the other side and run it in, and I'm going to mount my fuel pump right here on the fender apron to where I can have my line go straight up to the, actually I'm going to mount the fuel pump here and have my line be able to come right up into the solenoid. So that's the plan. So now for the hard part is pretty much, I don't know if I want to take this off. I can't come from underneath. I've done tried because the bumper's hitting. I'm not going to take the bumper off. So I guess I'm going to have to pop my grill out and remove my spring and latch apron here, which is not that bad. Take out 4 or 5 bolts, get it out of the way, and then we'll get that fuel tank mounted. Once I get that mounted, the rest will be pretty much downhill. I'm going to have to make some special mounts for it. That's going to be the most time consuming, is getting that little tank mounted. So let's jump on it and get with it. Alright, so now I got all this out of the way, and I fitted that to make sure I can't come above this hole because this plate comes down. I don't want it to hit. It's going to go in here kind of like that. So I got to have a strap to go around. We'll put a bolt here, and then another strap around here, and a bolt back here. It's going to be hard to get to that bolt back here, but I can get it. I'll do a self tapper there. So now I need to make some straps that go around this to where I can put a bolt right in here on both sides to hold this in. But I gotta get my catch can out of the way because I gotta get a bolt back there. So I got everything cleared out. Got my catch can gone. So now let's make some straps. So I had some 18 gauges, a little thick for my damn shear. It's hard to shear, but I got 2 foot, and really I need a little longer than 2 foot, I believe. But we'll see. I'm hoping that's going to be just about right on the money. But I sheared me two strips, and they're what? Inch wide. So let's get this bent. So I could just take my strap over there and bend some 90s in this, but the 90s is going to be pretty sharp to where these are rounded off. So I'm just going to hold it and fold it around and see what I can get here. I need to get a better table to move this on. Let's clean one off. Well, that fits in there perfect. That was even better. Alright, so it's going to go like this. I need a little hang over here. So we're going to run it pretty much like that. Bend one. Bend two. I marked it. This has got to be a bend 90 up this way. Probably the best thing is pop it. I believe that's going to work pretty nice. I got just enough gap there so when I tighten the bolt down, it's going to squeeze down and hold it nice and tight. So I'll clean this up and paint them. The only thing I want to do now is trim them off even. So now I got my hole drilled in to mount it. Now I got one more strap to make. So now I got both my brackets built. I need to clean them up and paint them, but I think I'm going to go ahead and get it mounted and make sure it mounts right. And then the last thing I do is mount it in. So let's see how that's going to work. We've got a hole right here, but this one lines up perfect. Unfortunately, this bottom hole is wanting to fall right in my big hole on the frame here. And that ain't no good. Unless I damn, yeah, I don't know how I'm going to do that one. No, I got to come up with something on that one. It'll be hard to even get a wrench to this one. This one I can get a wrench to. That one, with all this in the way, wow. If I pull it up, then I'm gonna be in this tension here. I have to have all this spacers. Oh, I like utilizing that hole. You know, I'm wondering if I was to spin this, and put a bolt in this way and one in that way. Let's see what that looks like. That might work out even better. Hey, I think we got that one. I like that. That's the way we're going to do it. Then I'm going to clean these up and paint them, because I'm going to go in, it's going to go in, stay in. So now I got it, my straps painted, and we got her mounted in. I got one bolt going in this way, and I got one going into the bumper frame, or the bumper bracket down here. But it's in there pretty sturdy. It ain't going nowhere. I'll be able to go right through here, open that up, put my funnel, put my fuel in. Alright, so now we got to come down here. I'm going to run my line across, right across the bottom of that radiator. And we're going to come up right atop the frame and go right in here. I got to drill a hole and go right into the fuel pump that I'm going to put on the inside. Right now I'm going to get the fuel pump mounted, then we'll build the line last. We got the fuel pump mounted, so now I got to get fuel line, and then wire it. So now I got to do the fuel line. Now, this is aluminum fuel line, and this is my flare. This is my flare kit. Now, this flare kit's pretty much for brake line. So all these dies are set for a certain angle for doing a double flare. Fuel line's different. Fuel line has a different angle, but I've got a complete set of the for doing fuel line. So when you're flaring fuel line, it's different than brake line. Remember that. So when doing these flares, especially on these 8 ends, and you know these go on, you have to get this on first. Sometimes they don't slide over worth a darn because your tubing's got a little bend to them. So I kind of put that on to help slide it down and get it down far enough. So I'm gonna bring it back, because this is how it goes. Then it's going to slide back up to the flare that I'm going to put on the end here. So I hope that's enough there. As you can see the difference on that. I don't know if we can get this focused in here. Let's see. As you can see, on the fuel line is 37-degree flare. So the cone has to be 37 degrees. Then here's the brake line on this side. This side's the fuel line. Step one, this is my hydraulic flaring tool. You have a die set to hold the tube, and you got your first piece. Pretty much, let's get this where we can show you how this goes in here. This screws out. The head screws out on it. Then you have the die here. This die has a recessed hole. You got a vise. So this is going to go in. Like this.
pipe in. Got this little flapper here, it's got to come down. You push all this back, hits that flapper, tighten your die down. So now I've got it clamped in. I pull this up, as you can see, it automatically sets the distance of your tubing coming through. So now we're going to screw this, is going to go up inside. You screw it until it stops. Now we got it stopped. We're good and locked in. Now we tighten our hydraulic down. We'll let the hydraulics do it now. So there's the first step. We back that off. We screw this out. Pop this die out. Pop in the flare. Take it all the way down. The double flare, we did the inverted flare the first time. Go in until it stops. And there we have it. We back this back out. Pop our cone back out. Break the die loose. And there you have a flare, double flare. Then we'll pull that back up in there. As you can see, that slips up in there and pushes. So when that tightens down, we got us a seal. So now I got to do the other end. I'm going to do it on the car because it's got to go through a hole. So let's, I got to do a bend too. So we have to put a 90-degree bend in it, and I've got a nice little bender. Pretty much the way it worked was you put your piece in, come in, then you pull the handle down, and I made that bend. I had marked how far it had to come out before it needed the bend. I'll make another bend and show you. So we're going to make another bend. This hose coming through here, going to come out. I want to go down and then across to my fuel. It don't need a whole lot, so that seems to be quite a bit. That's about the best I'm going to get. It's right there. So down and across, that's about right. So put a bend in it. So now, as you see, we'll go in down underneath the radiator. Now I got to measure how far over. Looks like 2.5 foot, or 2 foot ½ inch. 2 foot, actually, we'll go 25 inches. I'm measuring over 25 inches. Marking it. Got my mark. Got a dent in it right there. It's gonna be hard to put on. Hole not even round. Comes across, runs through, and comes in. I got it nice and tight. Got a garment, rubber garment, so it doesn't chase. So now all we gotta do is put our fuel line going up top. Last but least, we gotta block this one off because we don't have a return. We got a cap for it. So now I got the tank, everything, fuel pump on. Now I got to get the fuel up to here. I took my T loose, put my fuel line back on, so now this is all by itself. So now I got to get this one took off. So I've already put my first fuel line on there, and all these fittings that I bought, they're push locks. You just push them on, you don't have to use clamps. I got my gauge, got my filter going down, so now all we got to do is get these locked on. That one's going to go there. I'm going to go there. So now we got to tighten all these. So here's our finished product. Got the fuel cell in. Got the line comes running across. Goes through the radiator firewall, and let's come on over to here. As you can see, comes through, hooks onto the fuel pump. From the fuel pump it comes out, comes up to a fuel filter. From there, it runs over on the line. I got a pressure gauge in so I can monitor my pressure and go straight into the solenoid. So all I have to do is arm the switch on the inside, which will turn the fuel pump on, and it will take fuel from the little fuel tank and run all that separate. Of course, I don't have no racing fuel because that's what I'm going to be putting in there at this point, so I got to get some racing fuel. And that's where we're at. We got that job pretty much complete. So that's going to be pretty much on the B. I got the nitrous system on its separate system. The fuel injection, it's on its separate system now. And hopefully that's going to make it, I think, run a little better until I get some racing fuel in. And I do got to flush that tank out, which I'll just take that one cap off on the bottom, run some fuel through it, clean it out, and then we'll go from there. I do have a fuel filter to catch anything if it needs to be caught. But that'll be everything for this episode. Appreciate everybody watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.